What's up, guys? SirAllAboutMusic here, bringing you a quick album review for Pink Floyd's Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Their first release, released 1967, and I'm gonna do this right this time. So, getting into talking about this album, some really cool things about this album that I really enjoy. Obviously, the abstractness of it is just great. And I mean, that's what Pink Floyd is in this early stage, I think, is a lot about. They're a lot about the art of music, not so much the music of music. I know that's a little hard. That might be a little hard to understand, but that's about as best as I can get my thoughts across to you. It's art to them. I mean, Syd Barrett was an artist, and if you look at his paintings and his drawings and stuff like that, he was, I mean, just a very abstract kind of mind, a very weird take on the world, and a very weird perspective on art in general, and that translated into Pink Floyd's first album. It translated into Piper. I mean, it's all over the record, not just with the sound. You know, there's a lot of effects on the guitars. There's rarely any kind of raw sound on here. It's very processed. Lots of effects on everything. So not just with the musical aspect of it, but the abstractness is also there with things like song structure. Very rarely are these songs verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. You know, it doesn't happen like that. There's a lot of room for experimentation with how the songs flow in and of themselves. In and of themselves. How the songs flow in and of themselves. And that is a great thing. And because of that, you're constantly getting a new perspective on the album. I mean, this is a multifaceted gem. This is constantly throwing new ideas at you, even when you've listened to it many times. There's always something else new to hear, or oh wait, these two could be connected in this way. You know, it's like I don't know. It is a never-ending puzzle. This album is a never-ending puzzle. It just keeps on going. You can always put it together in new ways. So extremely abstract. That's the thing. That's the big point about this album. That's just the general feel of it, and I just love that. I love that. I love it. For me, Piper is the apex of 60s psychedelia rock. I mean, this is the blueprint for the psychedelic rock that followed afterwards, and it took all the good things about the psychedelic scene that had come before it and just shoved it into one album. Yeah, you can't beat Piper at the Gates of Dawn when it comes to psychedelic rock. You can't. You know, there are a lot of bands that were kind of doing the same thing. Rocky Erickson and the 13th Floor Elevators, Quicksilver Messenger Service to an extent, Jefferson Airplane. You know, there's a lot of psychedelic rock floating around, but nobody did it the way Pink Floyd did. Those other bands had a really large, I would argue that those other bands had a really large folk influence, and while Floyd had that in this stage, it's not as apparent as it is in those other bands. They really distort that influence, and there's a bunch of other things that are coming into play on the record, and just in general, it's way different from any other psychedelic rock album that was put out at that time, and really anything that followed afterward. This Piper is one of those albums that really doesn't get repeated because it's extremely hard to, and that's because Syd Barrett was a fucking genius songwriter. The thing that I really like about Piper, which unfortunately was really the only album that Syd contributed to. I mean, he did some little stuff with Saucerful Secrets, but the thing that I really like about Syd's songwriting is his amazing ability to manipulate the chromatic scale. And if you're a musician like I am, you might disagree with me on this, but it's been my general experience that the chromatic scale is something that is extremely fucking hard to work with. It's very hard to work with. I mean, even in this day and age, 20 years of musical explosion, it's something that not a lot of people touch. But Syd could make it work to his advantage, and he did a great job of it. And that's another thing that I really like about the songwriting on here. So in general, just a very, very cerebral yet catchy. This album is very, very catchy. That's another thing that I love about it. It blurs the line between art and you know, art rock, you know, music for the sake of music, and pop music. It blurs that line, and it does a beautiful job. So let's get to the 4 points. Originality, fantastic originality. Like I said, best of its time. And it pulled in a lot, even though it pulled in a lot of different elements from other bands, you know, Pink Floyd had their own fresh, unique perspective, and that's what really stands out. This is one of my more beloved Pink Floyd albums. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Syd Barrett's songwriting. I fucking love his songwriting, and honestly, I think the classic Pink Floyd lineup of the 70s pales in comparison to Piper. I think Piper is probably one of the best Pink Floyd albums. Definitely from the era from this to Metal. In that era, Piper takes the cake for me. Honestly, takes the cake. So, that's how much I like it. The production's great. It's fantastic. I love it. I absolutely love it. Nobody's pushed back. Well, yeah, I shouldn't say that. They're not pushed back for the entire album. Everything's in its place. I love that. You know, when there needs to be a little tinge of atmosphere, you know, either Rick will be back and play some really weird, funky chords on his keys, or, you know, Sid will do something weird on the guitar, and it'll be a little, you know, it'll be far back, but it's the atmosphere that it builds, and I think that's great. And then finally, flow. Great. Flow's fantastic. I got no complaints about that. So, what can I rate this? I can give Piper at the Gates of Dawn a 9 out of 10. Easy. No contest. So, that's what I got to say about Piper. Sorry if this review was a little disjointed. I'm trying to get back into my swing, back into my flow. But it'll happen soon. I love you guys. SirAllAboutMusic. I'll see you later.